I just need to hop on Zoom and just ask how's it going. And then 30 to 60 minutes later, whatever the issue was, holding that person back, completely solved. There was a plan to solve it.
Yeah.
And like, that's just something I'd love to see more of in sales management. Just throw away the script, throw away the agenda, the protocol, and just connect with the person. Something that served me well has always been extracting principles rather than tactics.
Cool. Well, Adam, appreciate you jumping on, man. This is officially episode number 7. And had some great people on. One of your associates, Harlan, was on in our last previous one. I see you guys, the three of you. We'll talk about you all, but I see the three of you all getting put on together, and I'm like, no, I want them individually. I want to, I want to take them on as they are. But no, I really do appreciate you jumping on, man. And anyone who doesn't know you, obviously, if you can do yourself a little bit of an intro, but I met you through various different programs and things, and there's like just off the bat, like just so you know where this conversation is going, right? There's still things that we talked about back when we first met that I still think about now and still help me through like my day to day and things. So I just wanted to let you know, first of all, like the impact you're having on people, because I know you can see it, but it's good to have that feedback as well, right? So just
Wow,
wanted to
that's
let you
amazing.
know that. But yeah, give a quick intro, however you feel, but what people might want to look into for when they're thinking of you and what you guys do.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Dave. I know obviously you've built yourself a really nice audience as well over the last, few months and maybe even few years. You've got a lot of people that love and follow you and listen to you and respect you and look up to you. And so for you to share your audience with me, I know what that means, and I hope to spit some fire today so everybody can get a good return on attention on on this episode. Um, and yeah, I mean, who I am, I've been in the sales space now for a good 2.5 years, run the whole gambit. Started my, I suppose, professional life as a professional rugby player, coming out of school at 19 years of age. Did that for 9 years. I competed in CrossFit after that, got into the gym industry, had my own CrossFit gym and then gyms over in Germany. I sold those at the very end of 2019 to then start online business coaching CrossFit gym owners across Germany, Austria, and Switzerland early 2020. That went fantastic. And then I don't know if you remember what happened March 2020. Somebody went and decided to eat a bat somewhere and shut my target market down.
Yeah.
So from there, I battled through that for about a year, 9 months to a year. Early 2021, I packed it in. I traveled to Colombia, where I'm sitting right now. Came for 3 weeks, stayed for 2 months, and on that trip decided that I wanted to become a nomad. And so I went back home to Germany at the time where I was living. March 1st, May 1st, 8 weeks later, I'd sold all my stuff, all of my possessions, and have been homeless ever since. That transition got me into remote sales because obviously it was a perfect combination with
Mm.
the nomadic lifestyle I wanted to live, with the skills, one of the skill sets I had acquired in that time.
Mm.
And somebody was crazy enough to give me an opportunity at the time. And I started as a closer. I've been a setter, a DM setter. Was very fortunate last year to then have the opportunity to coach a lot of reps with Bill Walsh at the objection box, which was a phenomenal opportunity and a big privilege at the time, to be honest. That led me on to then managing a sales team for a company last year that we took from around 300K per month to 1 million a month in 5 months. That was a phenomenal experience. And then end of last year, added a little bit of extra leverage by joining forces with Nomadic Closer and running now a done-for-you sales agency where we run and manage multiple teams, so I can give more love to more people, to more companies, to more reps,
Mm.
and just give back all the things I've acquired over the last few years.
That's huge, man. That's huge. I mean,
Mm.
like, just that those experiences you just listed off there. I mean, like a lot of people have like one of those. Not a lot of people have like every one of those, you know. Um, for you, and like, there's so many places we could take this, and we probably will. But for
Good.
you, like, obviously, yeah, I get the like from the gyms and the sales and the clothes, it like that makes sense, right? That transition. For you,
Mm.
was it like an easy transition though? Like, although it makes sense in hindsight, like what were the transitions like, from brick and mortar almost to nomad and all that sort of life?
Yeah. So I tell you what, there's probably one skill that I wouldn't so far or yet feel confident in coaching, and that is how to actively source and acquire opportunities. They've always come to me.
Really?
Growing up, my dad used to always, and I'm very, very fortunate with this. My dad was very, very big on saying, if I messed up or I, did something stupid or, made a bad decision, he said, all you can do is make the right decision you feel at the time at the crossroads in life that you're at.
Mm.
And so that gave me a lot of peace in life that each chapter and each opportunity and each person that you meet and each door that opens is a crossroads in life. And
Mm.
you can go left and you can go right. And all you can do is make the best decision you feel with the information you have at the time. And that's literally all I ever did. I
Mm.
never sat down and mapped out this master plan to start as a closer and look for opportunities here. And then from there, develop the skill set and network with these people so I could then, it never happened that way. So the only relatable skill that I can teach and give, and the one thing that worked for me was that everything I ever did, I always gave everything to it. I always
Mm.
put in everything I had to it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was talking to what do they call themselves? The remote boys, or what do they call themselves? Sean Brady and Sam, the
Oh,
two
okay.
Sams.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's their podcast called? Is it the Remote Boys?
I
I should
believe
know
it
this. I
is.
was literally
I,
talking to them like a week or two ago.
I'm pretty sure it is. Pretty sure it
Yeah,
is.
we had a conversation around the difference between giving and helping. And
Mm.
so there were times where I helped out, but I never went in with the intention of I'm going to help these people as much as possible. And there's a very good reason for it, is that
Mm.
there is a underlying and subconscious arrogance, and I'm here, you're here, to unsolicited help. And it was one of the reasons one of the reasons I butted head with my mum all my life was that she would always just wanted to help, and I never asked her
Mm.
for help. And so you got two options. You either subside and you sort of submit to it, or you rebel against it. There's only two
Mm.
ways you can go about it. So what I
Yeah.
did is I didn't try and help everybody and save the world. I just gave everything I had to every opportunity that I got.
Mm.
And the universe seemed to have rewarded me with more opportunities and new people and new crossroads in life. And to be honest, the decisions were never even hard. They always made themselves. The
Yeah.
next opportunity appeared, the next door opened, and it was a given. It was an obvious choice.
That's interesting. That's an
Mm-hmm.
interesting way to go. Would you say like that's genuinely in the moment it felt like that as well, not just in hindsight, if you know what I mean? Like
In
it's
the
still the
moment.
same. Yeah.
Yep, in
That's
the moment.
interesting, that is.
And that was from learning to make decisions not only from here but from here.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
the old saying, if it looks like shit, smells like shit, tastes like shit, it's probably shit. I don't know who's tasting shit, but it probably is shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it looks like a good idea, it sounds like a good
Mm.
idea, and it feels like a good idea, it's probably a good
Mm.
idea. And so
Yeah.
once you kind of tune into that, decisions do make themselves a little bit easier because our brain does love to try and keep us alive and will give us all sorts of different reasons that are fabrications of the mind, whereas the
Mm.
actual truth is already in here. I do believe genuinely, I go back to like when we were hunter-gatherers an awful lot, but I mean, that's just who we are still, that we were so in tune with nature that we knew instinctively where we had to go, what was dangerous, what wasn't. Of course, there's a
Mm.
process of trial and error as well. But I do feel that we were so in tune with our surroundings that our decision-making process is actually born from here. And as our minds and our brains grew larger, it started fucking shit up and stopped us connecting with that. I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer in that. And so if something
Yeah.
feels right, it probably is right. And
Interesting.
I'll also add on to that. Who was I was speaking to someone about this the other day. Even if it turns out not to be the right decision,
Mm.
I have so much faith now in future Adam to figure it out and fix whatever happens down the line, then I don't mind if it was a wrong decision. I don't mind if I then end up in a situation I don't want to be in, things get hairy, maybe lose money, whatever it might be. Through my past Adam, he has figured shit out each and every time along the way. And I'll bet it's the same for you, and I bet it's the same for anybody listening. If you look at the course of your life up until now, if you're not dead right now, you've always kind of figured it out. You've always kind of managed. You've always kind of made it work. So why wouldn't future Dave and future Adam be capable of the same or even better? And so even if it does turn out to be a wrong decision, I don't mind. Future Adam's got it. He'll be fine. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, I like that. That's interesting. Also reminds me of a Seinfeld joke where that's tomorrow Jerry's problem. That was always his.
Yes. Tomorrow Jerry's an asshole though, isn't he? Like he stays up late at that. Like
that's it.
No, it's today Jerry's an asshole, isn't he? He stays up late at night. He watches another episode of TV. Tomorrow Jerry fucking hates that guy.
Morning Jerry. Morning Jerry hates night Jerry, but midday Jerry has to deal with morning.
Yes, that's very true.
Funny, man. But no, that's really interesting. I like that. And the working title for this podcast, I don't know if you know, but the working title is Mindset, Skill Set, Heart Set. And the idea for it is basically what you're talking about there. It's the idea that too often, like, I don't think mindset's spoken about enough in our industry or just in general, but I still think it's spoken more about than the heart set. So it's like skill set's the only thing most people talk about. Then mindset's like made a move in with like positive psychology and all that side. Everyone's like, oh yeah, mindset's got something to this. But no one's talking about like the heart side yet, still the alignment, the emotional side, the spiritual side, whatever you want to call it. So it's interesting that you bring that up, because I think that's an interesting point that a lot of people don't put enough weight on. And I think, I don't know what your take on this would be. I feel sometimes the industry, and again, I'll talk about the high ticket sales in the industry rather than like, whatever people want to call it. But I feel like because we're so good at making new programs, the best way to do that is to rely on you're missing something type of deals. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with everything that's going on, but I think the easiest thing to talk about is the skill set, and then you borrow my confidence, rather than how do I help this group of people build their own self-worth, which then the skills can kind of come, or we can help them with it. But I feel like that's kind of been my vibe with it, with the industry in general, has been the way we run it is, I'm going to overload you with information to you've lost confidence in yourself. Now you look to me. I don't know what you think of that. I don't know if that's okay to say in those sort of contexts. But
dude, I think,
you know what I mean?
Yes, I think that there are always juxtapositions, meaning there are two potentially completely opposing standpoints, which are both absolutely true. And so then it will come down to your own anecdotal experience, your own personal learning preference, learning style, and past experience and resourcefulness in using different programs. And yeah, some people might do great with like, just give me all the information. Let me just like plug in a cable in the back of my head, download all the information, and I've got it. Great. That's your learning style. There may be someone who's not. And so I made a mental note about mindset. I think mindset is spoken about in our industry, but for me, through a straw. Meaning, in the world of mindset, or basically belief systems, attitudes, self-talk, etc., the mindset that we hear and are fed a lot is you got to want it, you got to be disciplined, you got to be tough, you got to be consistent, you got to be this, you got to be that. Now, there's a time and a place for that. And so if you look at the whole picture through a straw, you might see that. But that's a part of the picture, not the whole picture.
Right.
And so heart set for me, when I hear the word heart set, is being able to look at whole pictures and being able to feel what is right for me. And so I think something that I have noticed in myself that has served me very, very well in the past is having gone through multiple and lots of different training programs, learning from different coaches, is I feel that something that served me well has always been extracting principles rather than tactics. I'll give you an example. Have you read the book, The 4 Hour Work Week?
Yeah.
I read The 4 Hour Work Week back in 2014, 15, maybe.
Right.
Maybe 10 years ago. And it was very much in the beginning of my sort of personal development journey. And this book blew my fucking mind, Dave. I was like, this guy thinks so differently. But yet, look, he gets different results in life. He's at a different place in life. This guy is different because he thinks differently and he does different things. That was the first thing I clicked. Then I spoke to, so at the time I was managing a chain of gyms, and one of the other managers, one of the other regional managers, had read the book as well. And I was like, oh, did you read the 4 Hour Work Week? He's like, yeah. I was like, fucking brilliant, isn't it? And he was like, no. What am I supposed to do now? Like get a virtual assistant so they can book in restaurants for me? Like, how's that supposed to help me?
No
And
way.
I didn't know where to take the conversation. I just kind of left it. And I realized later that what he was doing, he was extracting tactics and not principles. And so because that particular tactic, he couldn't see any practical application for himself, the whole book was now irrelevant and stupid. And so if maybe there's a sales trainer where there is one line that I don't resonate with, I don't vibe with, or God forbid, I drop price up front, or I leave price all the way until the end. Oh my God. Like, no, that guy is an idiot. That's stupid. That doesn't work. You're looking at a tactic and not an overarching principle. And something that served me well, I feel at least, is being able to extract principles and feel what is right for me and the prospect. And I think if people can approach things with that kind of mentality, the last analogy I'll give for it, and I always come back to it, is the gym. Is if I say that the barbell is the only thing you need to get fit and strong, then I'm not wrong. Again, it's a juxtaposition. That is true. I can only use a barbell to get fit and strong. I can also only use a kettlebell to get fit and strong. But what if I use both, and a rowing machine and a running track? What happens then? And that's, I think, something that if we were to able to feel into that a little more, I think people would see outsized returns on their investments.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, because I feel like that's where a lot of the program bashing kind of conversations come from, or the separatist parties. This one works, this one doesn't. And I always say to people, if there was only one way to do it, then all these programs wouldn't exist, because there would only be one, right? Because it's the only way. But again, so it's like, but it's interesting, isn't it? I like your way of thinking, because it's very, very aligned with the way I kind of take things. I'm very, I probably would have, in my head, I'd have called it like I take concepts, which I think it's the same idea. So I'm like a conceptual thinker. Like, you give me a concept, I can take it out of context and run with it. You give it, but what I find interesting, because obviously with managing people and training people and all that, when you talk to them, you have to understand their side now. So it's like, we've got our side, right? So we know what we can cope with, what we take. But then when I treat them the same way I would treat myself, sometimes that's where I lose them. And I'm like, how do I explain a principle to you when all you see is tactics? I don't know if you've had to come across that, especially with like a done for you sales agency and things like that. Would you say that people that you bring on, or you manage through there? I mean, we can talk about how that works at some point, because I'm not fully sure how that works. So I mean, we can do a good plug for that. But like, would you say that you train the people in that way, or you look for people who align with yourselves, and that makes it easier to manage? You know, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, very much so. So I will. It's easier to get someone from a 8 to a 10 than it is a 5 to a 7. It's just easier. There's just the groundwork has been laid.
Yeah.
So I will prefer to work with someone who is further advanced, who has a lot of self-responsibility is a big one for me, especially when we're scaling teams and leveraging ourselves, is I can't afford myself the luxury anymore of really having multiple people that I'm really pouring into and training up. I can maybe take one person under my wing, but then that's kind of it. I'm
Right.
tapped out then. And the key for me, and I think something I'm I learned from my dad as well. I'm very grateful for it. My dad played rugby all his life, played 28 seasons, I think. And he coached a team that I played for in my youth. So from under 16 to under 18, he was the coach of my team
Oh,
when I used to play for FC Barcelona, actually.
no way.
So yeah. So FC Barcelona has like they have a basketball team, a handball team, a soccer team, a football team,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they also had a rugby team. So yeah, we used to
Mad.
get all their new kit every year. It was awesome. And as a coach, my dad was incredible. He's probably the most emotionally intelligent, one of the most emotionally intelligent people I've ever met.
Mm.
And I used to see how he would speak to me differently than he would speak to Juan, as he would speak to Ricardo, right? He,
Yeah.
I noticed how he would speak to people differently. He would
Mm.
motivate them in different ways. I mean, I saw him like literally kick one of the guys on the floor after he made a mistake once. He's like, just that, he would never do that to me.
Right.
But that guy got up off the floor and did it, never made a mistake again,
Mm.
and gave it 100% right after. And I saw it. I saw the channel. I was like, I'd be like, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? I got a completely different reaction.
Yeah.
And so in speaking to him, he called it man management. It's man
Mm.
management. It's not treating everybody the same. It's giving people what they need and feeling what they need and feeling where they're lacking. And it's probably one of my favorite times of the week is when I will sit down and have one-on-ones with reps. It
Mm.
is, I've noticed actually is one of the very few times that I'll get into pure flow state. This is another one.
Right.
So when I'm speaking to you, when I'm on podcasts, when I'm creating content,
Mm.
when I'm rambling and ranting on video,
Yeah.
I am flow state. I don't give a I'm not Adam Taylor right now with all my troubles and woes and strifes. Like I
Mm.
could sit here for hours. I probably wouldn't even like it's good. Look, it's 1:30 already. I don't know.
Yeah.
I forget where I am. I forget what time it is. And it's the same when I have a one-on-one with them. And I know that there are some managers or some managerial theories that will have a very set structure for how they want one-on-ones to run, and this is the agenda and this, that, and the other. I tried a few of them, and I just found like I just need to hop on Zoom and just ask how's it going,
Yeah.
and then 30 to 60 minutes later, whatever the issue was, whatever the thing that was holding that person back, they were struggling with, was if not completely solved, there was a plan to solve it.
Mm. Yeah.
And like that's just something I feel in I'd love to see more of in sales
Yeah.
management and leadership, is just throw away the script, throw away the
Yeah.
agenda, the protocol, and just connect with the person.
Mm.
And if you look after your people, they'll look after your clients, they'll look after your business. That's all you need to do. That's all
Yeah.
you got to do. That's probably my favorite part of the week.
Yeah. That's interesting. Taking one step back, you mentioned emotional intelligence, right? Um,
Mm.
with your dad obviously being like that way inclined, and obviously I can tell that's something that you admire and something you work on, or if you want to call it that. How
Yeah.
have you found, or have you found ways to build that? Like, is it a
Mm.
skill that you're able to build, or is it a not a
You
nature
got it or
nurture
you don't.
debate, but but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. But you either got it or
how
you
have you?
don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Wow. Yes. I believe you. Yes. Yes. I have seen it improve in people.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say that I'm very skilled in would I? I don't know. I'm trying to think of concrete examples as to whether I have or not. Um, I have seen other people work specifically on their emotional intelligence and get better at it.
Right.
When I quit being a professional rugby player, I competed in CrossFit and then got into a lot of business through running the gyms.
Mhm.
And then especially when I got into sales, I saw this high performance environment, this, competitive, when you train, you get better and you get better results, and therefore you earn more money slash win more games would be the sports
Yeah.
equivalent. I saw that and I was like, man, that's like rugby. And then I had this weird, really weird realization. I was like, I am no longer confined or bound by the restrictions of my physical ability.
Mm.
In rugby, they say a good big one will always beat a good little one. I'll translate that for the Americans. A good big one, a good big dude is always going to be a good little dude, right?
Yeah.
There just comes a point where if this guy's just bigger, stronger, faster than you,
Yeah.
everything, all else being equal, he's going to beat you.
Mm.
And then I'm in this realm where it's like, that
Mm.
doesn't exist anymore. Like, that's it. There's no limitation. I was like, well, what is the limitation? And I have a working belief. It's a belief, it's not a universal truth, but from my own experience and observation, I feel that as long as it's not a physical constraint, a physical skill, you can improve and get better at anything.
Mm.
Literally anything. You will have a natural inclination and you will have things that come naturally or quicker to you.
Mm.
And there will be other things that you will have to work harder on. For example, in my 20s, when I started managing gyms, I used to tell myself and anybody that was listening that I was very disorganized. And lo and behold, I cast a spell upon myself to be fucking incredibly disorganized and forgetful. Until my team started saying to me, Adam, we love working with you. It's great, but it really is a little bit frustrating when you forget these things. So I was like, okay, shit, that's the one thing they ask. Is it like they don't ask anything else from me, just that one thing? Let me figure it out. I Googled time management. I started like introducing myself to the world of being a bit more organized. And I also changed my language around it. And I stopped because I was listening to, at the time, to a podcast from Ben Bergeron, a top CrossFit coach, who was talking about fixed mindset and growth mindset.
Right.
Fixed mindset is I am disorganized. Growth mindset is I have a natural tendency to be, I have a natural inclination. I'm not naturally organized.
Mm. Yeah.
Therefore, it takes more effort for me to be organized. And that was my experience, was that if I just put more effort into it, I could be more organized to a level that did not dissatisfy my surroundings. Now, I had a guy that I worked with for a long time, he was my right-hand man at the gyms, naturally incredibly organized dude, like ridiculously. It
Mm.
just came naturally to me. He didn't have to put effort into that. But there was then things that he had to put more effort into that I didn't. And so I think I believe from my own observation experience that if it is not a physical, like, standing jump, there will be a
Mm.
cap on it.
Yeah.
Just through the levers on my like just through my physical body, there's going to be a cap on it. When it comes to a mental skill, I don't think there is. It just may take you a lot more effort than someone else.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
answer
I
your
think that's
question,
fair.
I
Yeah.
think emotional intelligence is
Yeah.
improvable.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then it's just then it's like it is just finding the right ways to start building it and keep working on it and putting the time in, like any other skill,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And I believe I believe there's like I'm trying to remember. I think I remember someone recommending the book. I want to say it was called Emotional Intelligence. I might be butchering it, but it was something like that. And he said, like, that is the book. You read that book
Mm.
and you work on the things in that book, you will get better at it.
Right.
I never read it. Not something I felt like I needed to put time and effort into. Those were
Yeah.
other skills. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think you can get better at it. I don't know
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
coach it though,
Yeah.
directly.
Yeah. There's a difference between having a skill and teaching a skill, isn't there? Like just because you can do something doesn't mean you can teach it. And I think
Mm-mm.
that's something that some people learn the hard way. You know?
Yep.
But it's
Hmm.
like making the transition from closer or salesperson to sales management, isn't it? A lot of people
Mm.
think, oh, that's such a natural progression, but for a lot of people, it's just not. And like, you know, it's just not the case.
Not at all. Not at all. Whole different kettle of fish. And it took me
Yeah.
probably too long to learn that moving into sales management, if you look at everything through the lens of a closer,
Mm.
you you will miss opportunities to benefit the business, which will in turn benefit the closers, just not directly. What I mean by that is if you look at things through the lens of a closer, you'd have everybody basically send you their bank account details before hopping on a call.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I right?
Put it in the notes when you book your call. We'll take
Literally, please upload a copy of your most recent bank statement so I know whether I want to talk to you or not.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what's that going to do to your ad spend? Your cost per call booked. It's going to skyrocket, right? Facebook's going to be showing your ads to all these people, and everybody's going to be like, nope, nope, nope. But then you'll have 100% close rate.
Well, that's it.
Right. And so moving from closing to managing sales teams, there is a real balancing act to be had between setting the sales team up for success and setting the business up for success. And that balancing act is not easy. It is not easy. It requires a phenomenal amount of communication because, of course, you are literally the middleman between the team and the owner. It requires a tremendous amount of communication, of empathy, of understanding, of intellectual understanding of the mathematics behind business. Like it's not, I don't want to overcomplicate it, but it is very easy to underestimate. Very, very easy. And it is, I really enjoyed learning that, but it was certainly a learning curve. That's for sure.
Definitely.
That's for sure.
Totally different skill sets, isn't it? It's just because it's still got the word sales in, people are like, oh, that makes sense. It's like, I'll be a sales manager. I'm a salesperson. Yeah, it sounds good to me. But
yeah, I'm always kind of top of the leaderboard-ish.
It's the same thing that you say, like a lot of people say though, isn't it? It's like not all the best players make the best coaches. Not all the best coaches were the best players and things like that. 100%. It's again, it comes back to the emotional intelligence like type of conversation. It comes back to all those, isn't it? If you can see, actually, it comes back further to the looking through a straw. I think when you mentioned that, I think as a salesperson, you typically have a straw view of the business, whereas a sales
100%.
manager has to be able to see it even more so than the business owner, I think, because like you said, you're a middleman. The business owner can say, we're doing this because it's my business. The sales manager has to be able to portray that to the salespeople in a beneficial way as well. Not just say like
100%.
doing it because I've said so.
There's also Dave, 1 second. I desperately need to put the aircon on. It's right there. I'll be back in two
worries,
seconds.
No
yeah, hold on. There we go. There we go.
What's the temperature over there at the moment?
Yeah, it's on. It was actually raining a bit today, but it's like Medellin, they call it the city of eternal spring. Basically, always stays between like 18 and 25, 26 degrees, maybe, all year round. Never too hot, never too cold.
That's crazy.
Great. It was just getting a bit warm in here. It's me spitting all this fire. I could see myself getting redder and redder. I'm like, why is it so warm down here? The aircon's not on. So I held the thought. So moving from closing to managing, there are words that you learn very quickly to eliminate from your vocabulary.
Okay.
I think, I feel like, and I believe.
Yeah.
Say any of those three, start any sentence to a business owner with any of those three words, they shut down. And rightly so.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think. I think differently. Now what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Show me the numbers. And so if I could give this to anybody moving from closing to managing and working closely with offer owners, if you feel like you're not being listened to, it's because you're not. And you're not being, it's true. He's not listening to you or she's not listening to you. And the reason they're not listening to you is you're not speaking their language. You're speaking French to them and they speak English. And they're literally saying, I don't understand you. Go away until you speak my language. Rightly so. Because their time and focus and attention cannot be put into teaching you your job into
Yeah.
teaching you how to communicate and teaching you how to present data and figures and stats and hypotheses on possible changes and solving problems. And so I feel like, and I believe if you start your point or your suggestion or your conversation with any of those, you will get shut down, you won't get listened to, and it will be your fault.
Yeah.
And so everything that I learned in working with offer owners is preparation. Alex Hormozi said this, and it's so true. It is amazing how smart you can look with 20 minutes of preparation. It's unreal. It's that simple. It's literally sitting down with a Google Docs and writing out some notes and collecting data and looking at actual facts and figures and saying, this is the situation that we have. If this number were better, then extrapolated, that would give us this result.
Yeah.
To improve this number to get it from here to here, the one variable we are going to test for the next X amount of calls or time, I suggest 20 calls, 2 weeks, bare minimum, not to make a decision, but a bare minimum to see the result of. And it depends on the metric, but to get this number from here to here, the one variable we're going to change is this, and we're going to change it for this amount of time. And then we're going to see if our hypothesis was correct, whether we need to continue we need to continue, change, or cut.
Yeah.
And so you need to treat it like a scientific experiment, essentially.
Yeah.
Not from the standpoint of a belief. I feel it just won't work, unfortunately.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Yeah, certainty is also like that flows with that, right? It's that certainty and that just conviction in where you're going.
Yes.
Because as long as you're basing it on the right things, changing direction isn't a sign of, oh, I got it wrong. It's like you say, the experiment found out that this is actually a better route to go now. So it's not like, it's not, oh, I made a mistake, I better take, because that's what holds a lot of people back as well, right? Is that if I suggest this, it's going to be blamed on me. Whereas if you come at it like, these are the numbers, these numbers suggest we should try this, let's try this. And I think that's a much better way to run it as well. I like
100%. And I'll also add, even one step further, is from the try this. The way to give more certainty and conviction and take less guessing out, even more guessing out of it, is this is how this company is doing it, and they're getting these results. Therefore, we're going to model this. And now you're modeling something that's already working. Now, you may not have all the context, and suddenly what you're modeling doesn't work for you because of XYZ reason that you couldn't know beforehand. That's fine. That also happens. But that way, you're taking even more guesswork out of it. And so if you can get data, stats, figures together, you can then hypothesize how to increase this metric over this time period by modeling something that's already successful, and you have buy-in and agreement from the business owner. Well, I mean, how can you then? I mean, if you run 5 of these in a row and like none of them work, okay, you may have a conversation with the business owner. But what you're doing is you're giving the business owner certainty. You're speaking their language. You're showing that you're putting the effort in and you're preparing and you're thinking, you're strategizing. But you're also giving yourself that certainty, conviction that, like, I've done my homework. On paper, this should work because it's working there. Let's run it. And that's it. That's all it is.
It's interesting. No, that's I think that's because I know a lot of people, obviously, like, we've been in this sort of industry the same sort of amount of time, and a lot of people that we came in with are all having this sort of conversation now. Like, I'm thinking of maybe going into management or that. So it's interesting timing because there's a lot of people I'm talking to that are going through that. I had it kind of easy because the offer I've been on, it did make sense and it was kind of going. So I've had kind of a fortunate transition. One thing I've noticed, because I've done work with a lot of different businesses as well, and I don't know if this is something that you want to speak about just in case, but did you find that some businesses, I'm not going to say lots of businesses or every business or anything, have you found that there's a lot of people out there, let's call it this, a lot of people out there that say things in the public face are going one way, and then when you look behind the scenes, you're just like, this is not what is actually being said. because the reason I'm going to preface this right because I don't want to get in any trouble. But when you're talking about modeling, right, this is where you got to be careful who you model, right?
Yes.
Because what I did is I didn't model, I compared, which is already the negative side of it. But I compared to I said it to someone. I came up with the phrase like, "Don't compare your known to someone else's unknown." And what I meant was, I know my numbers. I don't know theirs. I just know what their public is telling me, and I
Yep.
was basing it on that. And then when with some of these places, I did get to see behind the scenes, and I was like, "Oh,
Yep.
actually, like we're
Hmm.
actually on the same. We're doing good. We're on the same path, or whatever." So I'm not necessarily
Hmm.
saying they're like negative or anything, but you know
No.
what I mean. I do find that there was a lot of that in when I'm looking in, and the same with salespeople as well, isn't there? There's a public face and a private face, right?
Yeah, yes, I have had a tremendous amount of interviews with reps whose Facebook results and posts would suggest a whole different scenario. And
Yep.
I guess everybody's always acting in their own best interest anyway.
Yeah.
If somebody seems tight-fisted, all they're doing is taking care of their financial security.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's always a positive twist on it. It is a funny observation, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when modeling other businesses, yes, I always liked to model things from people that I was able to actually hop on a Zoom call with and get as much context as
Hmm.
possible.
Yeah.
I was actually always very, very, very wary of modeling companies from afar because
Hmm.
you don't know what's actually going on behind closed doors. And I will give an example. Yeah, it's public knowledge. Well, a company that I used to manage a team for used to model BJK
Hmm.
University. Used to model them. Did a lot of things worked, but there was a lot of things on the sales side that when I looked at it on paper, I said, I don't know what kind of culture that's creating.
Hmm.
On paper, I can't see that being a place people enjoy working.
Hmm.
I can see the effect that it has on the numbers of the business, but I don't know about that piece. And that piece is the thing that gives those numbers longevity. What happened
Yeah.
to BJK?
Hmm.
It went under.
Yeah.
It went under. And so, I think they're making a bit of a rise from the ashes now. I'm not sure. I haven't followed them for a little while now, but that's exactly what happened, you
Yeah.
know. And so that's something I'm always very, very wary of is modeling from afar when it comes to things that will have like a direct effect on team members. You
Yeah.
got to find out what is the secondary and tertiary effect that's having.
Hmm.
That's important as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not an exact science. It's
Of
not
course.
exact science at the end of the
Well, of
day.
course. But no, that's interesting. That's interesting. I you said something then. With regards to longevity, one thing
Mm,
one thing I'm working out or working through at the moment, I've been reading this book. It's a great book called A More Beautiful Question, and it's about like innovators and how people are kind of like questioning through. And he proposes a three-stage process for questioning, which is why, what if, and how. So like why, and you kind of say like why this, why this, why this, and you build out, and then it's like the what if is the moment where you're like, okay, let's take one of those whys and make it into something new, and then the how is obviously doing it. And for
mm,
me, one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of sales and marketing, not in the high ticket space, I mean sales and marketing in general,
mhm,
is fear and scarcity, right? And
mm.
lack. Like that's
Yep.
I know we're an avoidant species, but we play on that
Mhm.
like really far. And my
Yeah.
my question is what if we stopped using fear and scarcity and instead used empowerment and growth in sales? That's kind of because when you talk about longevity, that's my opinion on it. Because one,
Yep.
and I'm bringing this back to you because I'm not making it all about me. One of the things I've seen you talk about, whether it's been frequently or whether it's been like the same place, but content's been chopped up, I'm not sure. So if you're bored of this question, that's fine. Um, but is about energy, right? Like I've
Mm,
heard you talk about energy and like, positive energy, negative energy, and all that side.
yep.
So when you're saying that, then like my view is when it's a negative energy, it can and does work. Like it's
Hmm.
that's the problem with results, right? It does give them, but does it
Yep.
last?
Hmm.
And that's an interesting question that I've been battling at the moment
Mm,
with how do you make a team? Like if we make let's make this a principle or tactical, right, for people. How would you make a team in general, like and like from an energy wise, be more empowering and like have that longevity rather than the kind of scarcity negative energy? What would you be bringing to a team to kind of change that view?
mm. Great question.
I kind of do it for a living.
I think I've used that line before. I haven't seen a good example of empowerment and growth-based marketing. Marketing,
Mm-hmm.
marketing. I don't know of a good one.
Yeah.
I couldn't rattle one off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I think good marketing will leverage FOMO, lack, um, ego, desire.
Mhm.
They will leverage those lower frequency states. If you Because when you're marketing, you are marketing to a person's ego, not to the person.
Mhm.
You're marketing that ego.
Yeah.
How would you ever sell anything to a monk?
Mm.
What would that do for you personally? I'll be okay.
Yeah.
What happens if this continues for the next 3, 6, 12 months? I'll be okay.
Yeah.
You couldn't, could you? So what you're doing is you're not marketing or selling to the person you're selling, marketing selling to their ego.
Mhm.
Now, when you're selling, there is a time and a place to help people bring things from their subconscious to their conscious in terms of negative consequences of their current decisions,
Mhm.
and to play out those current decisions over the course of the next X amount of time, to have them come to a realization that that's not what they want, and there may be feelings and emotions of fear that come up.
Mhm.
There may be feelings and emotions of desire come up when we future pace them. That's okay. Where I think the magic comes is when it comes to making the decision, and when we are objection handling and
Mhm.
we are helping people work their way through that scary decision. What do we leverage then?
Mm.
And we've all had this experience that those that leverage either external factors, such as guarantees, um, love it or leave it periods, free trials, etc., we'll know that the refund rates and the longevity of that is not there. The LTV of the customer just isn't there.
Yeah.
Let's just put it into plain business terms.
Yeah.
When we also then leverage fear, guilt, shame, we can move someone into action to just for this whole ordeal to be over.
Yeah.
But again, I don't have any statistics or haven't run any studies on it, but I would, if I were a betting man, I'd be willing to bet that the LTV of that customer is less than the salesperson who is able to bring them out of that state of fear and raise their vibrational frequency into a state of courage, acceptance, willingness, neutrality, even, and really call to their higher self, to the
Yeah.
best version of themselves that they
Mhm.
then will aspire to be like moving forward, not just in the moment.
Mhm.
And we actually did a Facebook Live with June Choi, who is coming to the Nomadic Closer House in a
Nice.
few weeks. And he said a question that he uses a lot now is, how do you want to be remembered by those that you love?
Mm.
And what he's really, really doing there is stirring up a lot of emotion, because we do buy on emotion, justify with logic. Let's face it, like that is fact. And he's stirring up a lot of emotion, but what he's doing is he's drawing that person up into a better version of themselves. And so what I would do to bring that to a team would be first to have them like understand the vibrational frequency chart. I know it almost off by heart now. I talk about it so much, almost. I think I skip a couple on the way up now and then, but I would have them understand that. And I would have them be conscious of that when they're selling. Where am I? On what frequency am I vibrating right now? What frequency is my prospect vibrating on? And am I bringing them up, or am I bringing them down? Am I doing that consciously, or is it happening without me wanting that to happen? Yeah. And the last thing I would do is I would ensure that the whole team filters every answer that they get from a prospect through the lens of, is this an external or an internal answer? When I ask a why now question, an urgency-based question, a time frame based question. When I ask a why now question and somebody gives me reasons why they should do it now that look like I have more time on my hands, I have some money coming in, I just feel like it's the right time. All of these kind of external answers. Nothing's changing in here. And what will happen is at the end, there'll be no internal drive and internal push to want to actually push forward and move forward with the decision. If we're having an internal based conversation because I feel tired, I'm sick of this, I really want this, I don't want this anymore. It's all internally based. I'm now speaking to their internal state, and I can get a gauge of, is this person in a state of fear, desire, or whatever? And I can't gauge that on, I've got more time on my hands now.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Go learn to play the guitar then. And you've learned. Oh, I really want to learn a new skill. Go learn the guitar then. You've learned a new skill, haven't you? But why this?
Yeah.
Those would be the two things I'd focus on.
I like that. That's huge. That's huge. There you go, man. Just take that clip and start your own program on the side. 97 a month. Chuck them in school. Right? Put that clip in.
It's got to be 15 grand's worth on there, surely.
But I think that's huge. That's huge, man. That's really
internal versus external. Filter every answer you're getting.
Yeah.
Through the lens of this, is this an internal and external answer? And you will see a very big change in your conversation, your close rate. I guarantee it.
It's huge. Yeah. Because it's intrinsic, extrinsic motivation, isn't it? And it's are you being pushed or are you being pulled? We've had that conversation. Yes. You called me out on that once, and I said, I'm really pushing through. I was like, I'm really pushing towards this goal. And you went, Dave, why isn't your goal pulling you? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe it's not the right goal. So
why you got to push so hard if that's the goal?
It's interesting. But I think it's so, but this is where, again, the principles versus tactics in it. Where people get so caught up in like, oh, did I say this word track right? And did I do this right? They're not even hearing half the time. Let's be honest. Not even hearing the answer, let alone if it's internal or external. Exactly, so it's like, you gotta, I think you've got to know your craft so well that you can be present. It's like playing guitar, like you literally, like with learning the guitar. Like I used to be in a band, right? So whereas you was a sportsman, I was a musician, right? That was my background. So if I was thinking about where my fingers needed to go during a gig, you're kind of screwed, right? The audience isn't going to feel it. You're not enjoying it. Like, but when you talk about flow, the best moments of flow in my life I can ever remember is when we're on stage just playing and you're just going for it. And then the fun moments is where you kind of make it up on the spot after the song's actually finished and you're just kind of doing whatever comes naturally. But that can only come when you know it, right? When you know what you're doing. And I guess with sales, it's no real difference. It's that flow with someone, but if you're in here, you're not with them, are you? And that the whole thing of a call is there, it's for them, innit? It's not for you. That's the commission's for you. The call is for them, right?
Yes, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. I noticed when I had the opportunity to start coaching, people like yourself, some fucking great names actually come through the objection box from that era,
Yeah. Yeah.
still continue to come through on a daily basis now. But I noticed that there was the three sort of levels that I was noticing in terms of competency and results was level one is knowing what to say. Level two is knowing why you're saying this. Why am I asking this question? What am I trying to get out of this question? What am I trying to get out of this section of the call? What am I trying to induce in the prospect? What am I trying to get them to feel, see, imagine? What am I like? Why? Why am I doing this bit? But the third level was understanding deeply what you're hearing. And at the time, I had, like I just kind of said, I wouldn't know how to go about coaching and improving someone's emotional intelligence right now. At the time, I didn't know how to improve that. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's just kind of, you just kind of like, it's obvious, isn't it? Like, like you see when he said that, I was like, you don't, no, I didn't hear.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. So
Yeah.
now, luckily, over the last year and a half, I've been able to kind of put a few things towards it. And the first one is the lens of external versus internal.
Yeah.
That's a first step in starting to understand what you're hearing.
Yeah.
And the base level for me is a base state of being in their head and not in your head. So if you're like literally physically trying to imagine seeing life through their eyes, thinking their thoughts right now, what is it that they're thinking? Why did they say that word and not this word? Like really being in their head, you're no longer in yours, and you're able to be in flow state. This is literally the process of getting out of your own way. Just as you were not in your own head playing the guitar, you were just like in the guitar in the moment on the stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the two things I could attribute to knowing what you're hearing in a sales conversation, which is like the highest level of competency that I've noticed. And it does have a direct correlation to emotional intelligence, because if I have no emotional intelligence, I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they are very, very closely correlated.
That's interesting. I like that. I think, yeah, I think that makes sense. I think the disconnect that I would say looking at that from the first two is natural progression. The third one, like you said, is linked to other things. But I think there's the barrier in a performance-based industry of comparison stops you getting to that point. So when you look at the people who are at that point, they seem I'm going to speak on generalizations here because I can't speak for them, but they
Sure.
seem to have an inner conviction that they don't need to worry about themselves, so they can think about the other person. Whereas
Yep.
when you have that idea of, "Oh, why am I still only at X, and that person who's joined less time than me is at a better income than me, what are they and then like you're still in your head, aren't you? You're not. That seems to be a block for a lot of people because it's performance based, I feel. At least that's what I'm that was the block for me for a long time as well. You know, like, well, I'm better than you. Like, why are you making more than me? Stuff like that. Because then
Yep.
you can't get out your own head. You can't be in the other person's because you're trying to figure out what's wrong. Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's good, man. Well, I genuinely we could talk for hours. Like, I wouldn't. We already have spoken for an hour, which is insane.
Oh shit.
It's gone so quick. Um,
Yeah.
I really, really want to find out more about Nomadic Closer and let everyone hear about that as well. Like this
Yeah.
topic for me is like this has been awesome, but I also want to give people a chance to know about this because you guys are doing some awesome stuff. I mean, like I've watched, which is crazy as well because like yourself, Joel, Harlan, like we all kind of came up together. So it's been really interesting seeing your guys' whole progress and you the movements and the things you're doing, and it's pretty inspiring. Like just seeing the changes and then where you're at now is huge, you know. So I feel like you guys are on like a really unique path and you have a lot of potential to like affect a lot of people. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that in terms of like obviously you're at the Nomadic House like right now. Right, we're getting like an inside peek. I mean, like you could do like a candid camera walk around a little bit,
Yeah.
but like just break down a little bit of like what that is happening because has it already am I right in thinking it's already happening, right? Like the guys are there. So walk us through,
It's
like, how's it going, man?
happening.
Yeah, like how's it all going? Like, what's it all about, man?
Oh yeah, I mean the the road to partnering up with Joel and Harlan with Nomadic Closer was, I feel, and we all feel, it was inevitable. We met also a year and a half ago, around the same time as we met together in the objection box. I even sold Harlan into the. I sold Harlan. Harlan bought from me. Let's put it, put it that way. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. We just instantly hit it off. Joel and I, especially, we always kind of stayed in touch. And I remember I was in Amsterdam. I was living in Amsterdam at the time.
Mm.
And I remember, because I was staying with a very, very good, one of my best friends actually in Amsterdam, just mattress on the floor in a spare room kind of thing. And I remember being on my phone and I was just chatting to like, Joel, how's it going? And this, that, and the other. And he said, yeah, really good. And he just started the Facebook group, the Nomadic Closer Facebook group.
Mm.
And at the time, I remember thinking, oh, that's a really cool idea. Yeah, just get the guys
Yeah.
together, the nomadics and all this kind of stuff. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cute, right? And I was chatting to him, and he said, "Yeah, dude, we've got a lot of things planned for this. Yeah, we've got a lot of things planned for this, and it's going to be amazing." And I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome, dude." And he was like, "Yeah, I had the idea in a plant ceremony." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Yeah, from ayahuasca." And he's at the time he said, "Don't tell anyone." He's gone public with it that he
Okay.
literally had the whole idea for nomadic. Yeah. No, I'm not like spilling the beans. And he had the whole idea for Nomadic Closer, this whole vision of Nomadic Closer from an ayahuasca ceremony, and he just saw this as a vehicle to be able to give back to as many people as he could who were going through the same experiences that he had gone through and was going through at the time. And even in the ceremony, it was like, but what do I call it? And it's like, well, I mean, you're a closer and you're coming nomad. So it's like nomadic.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And so from there, basically the trajectory of Nomadic Closer. So it started with placement through the Facebook group. If you're a closer, you're allowed in. If you're a business owner, you weren't. But he obviously messaged and say, "Hey, what are you looking for?" "Oh, are you?" Job posts, matchmaker, boom, done.
Yeah.
Placement.
Yeah.
So we still do placement to this day. So we do recruitment, we do placement. Joel and Harlan last year launched the Nomadic Closer Sales Academy, where we teach sales, but first we teach them how to optimize themselves as a human first. It's personal development first. It's figuring out your why. Why are you doing this? What is your mission? What is your vision for your life, for the people around you? What are your values? And once we align that, we can take sales principles and align them with who you want to be so that you can sell congruently and with authenticity. Yeah. And so there are no word tracks in the Nomadic Closer Sales Academy. There are principles and examples that work. And then we teach them how to take that and adapt it to themselves to be able to sell with absolute authenticity and congruency. From there, we do both of those things in the Spanish market. Also, as Joel and I have lived, I think, parallel lives. We both born in England. We both grew up in Spain. We lost businesses through COVID. Used high ticket sales to get out of debt. We both basically just lived parallel lives. So we do, So we do the recruitment. We do the sales academy, both in the Spanish market, and the newer additions are, number one, the sales side of things, the done for you sales agency, where essentially we plug in our sales systems, sales teams, and run and manage and recruit and hire and fire the sales teams, hands off, so that the company who is fulfilling just has to fulfill. If they do their marketing themselves, great. If not, we also plug in our media buyer, and so we can give a whole turnkey solution to a company who doesn't want to take care of marketing. They don't want to have to take care of sales. They just want to do what they do best and stay in their zone of genius. And so we have that as well.
Awesome.
And the latest addition is the Nomadic Closer House in Medellin. And it just started on Monday. I'm literally sitting in the basement right now because obviously the guys are still on calls and closing deals and working hard. They'll probably be wrapping things up pretty shortly. today, for example, so we just started on Monday. So we've got 7 guys in this house in Poblado de Medellin, in this amazing house. It's so beautiful. It's just, like, it's brand new as well. This was the first house that Joel and I looked at in Medellin. And then we were like, okay, that was amazing, but like, let's keep looking, right? And so every single house we went to after was like, yeah, it's not as good as the first one, isn't it? No, it's not. No. Let's go look at this one. Let's look at this one, though. And then eventually, we're like, why are we still spending time looking at houses when like that was the perfect one? So yeah, we literally got a dream house here, 7 bedrooms, all 7 guys under one roof. Joel, Harlan, and I literally just up the road as well. So we spend, obviously all day here, but we can obviously leave the guys to have their own experience and form their own bonds and friendships and have their own group dynamic. Started on Monday, just yesterday evening. We had a personal branding workshop from a buddy of ours, a connection we made here in Medellin. A 21-year-old guy, just turned 21. He's been doing content for a decade now, since he was 12, so for nearly a decade now. This kid's got 1.7 million followers on Instagram. He's currently doing Andy Elliott's content for him. He was flown out to Dubai for a content creation team to create content on how he goes about creating content in Dubai. A little bit Inception.
Wow.
He got to Dubai. This is a huge production. He got to Dubai 3 days later. He got an opportunity. He flew straight back to New York. He just landed in New York this weekend to go out. I'm not sure. I think he asked me not to say to go out to. So if I told you the name, if I told you the name, you know exactly. Like, everybody watching knows exactly who he to do the content for them. Phenomenal kid, and he did a personal branding workshop for the guys yesterday. I think blew their little socks off. Gave them, and gave them some homework. Yeah, gave them so much value. Gave them a good project to work on for the next 4 weeks. And yeah, we combined that with some Nomadic Closer merchandise. So we gave them all a polo shirt. We got them a gym vest, gym shorts, so we can kit them all out. In 45 minutes, we've got a goal setting workshop with another connection of ours and a good buddy of ours, a Kiwi called Dan Lawson, who will be speaking at the same event as Gary Vee in a few weeks. And so he's a very well-renowned speaker. He's going to be coming into the house, doing a live workshop with them. After that, at 7:30, we've got a chef coming in who's going to be doing a chef show. So like, he's literally bringing in all of his gear, like all of his cooking gear, and he does all the like all the fire breathing, all this kind of stuff. Like,
that's crazy, man.
Dude, we're going shooting guns on the weekend on Saturday. Then we're gonna put that into practice and go play paintball on Sunday with a bunch of friends of ours from here, so the guys can network and
awesome.
make some new connections here. We've got some ice baths and sound healing after that, dude. I could go on.
It's huge, man. That's huge, isn't it? And it's 4 weeks they're there as at a turn, right?
Yep.
That's not
April
4
1st,
weeks.
April 30th.
They're never going to forget those 4 weeks, are they?
That's the goal. That is the goal. That is the goal. The goal is to give them an experience that we wish we could have had when we were just traveling around and closing deals from our bedroom and staring at 4 walls and wondering why we got no friends outside of the online space.
That's huge.
But that's it. Like, you can see how passionate I am about it. Like, it's something. Once we had the idea, we are very, very busy with everything else that's going on, but we said we can't not do this now. We can't not share this with the guys. And so keep your eyes peeled, because follow along on Nomadic Closer House, nomadicloser.house on Instagram. We're going to be posting obviously what's going on, and so everybody can kind of keep tabs on what we're doing and keep up to date with everything. And we're also planning the next Nomadic Closer House to be in the Europe area for the summer.
Oh, wow.
We got another one in the autumn, and then another one in the new year in January, where we're looking maybe Southern Hemisphere. I don't want to give too much away just yet, or promise and then not be able to deliver for some reason. But we've got three houses lined up for the next year at least.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's impressive. That sounds really cool, man. I like that. It sounds like you're, like you say, it's not just giving them like fun things to do and everything. It's like that's all the things you mentioned there at some point is going to come into play in their life in some form, isn't it? It's transforming every part. So that's awesome. Well, yeah, definitely. Like, obviously everyone can follow along on Instagram from Nomadic Closer House, right?
Yep.
And then obviously anyone can follow yourself and follow any progress through there and get in touch with you for anything like that. But I
Yes.
think, yeah, it's going to be a really interesting journey seeing, because I mean, like, it feels quick from like conception to putting it in. So I'm really interested to see where like this year for you guys goes, because that was like pushing the boulder up the hill, so to speak, and now it's going free falling, right? So
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Literally.
exciting, man.
I think we're obviously going to learn a lot on this one as well. So we literally pulled out all the stops to make sure that this one goes
Yeah.
off without a glitch. And then yesterday, right at the end of the presentation, hour long workshop, we got literally like 5 minutes to go. Danny's getting all fired up. He's spitting all this fire. He's dropping all this, and then he's like, and then he goes to the next day. He's like, and guys, the most important part about all of this is all the lights went out in the whole street. Not even the house,
No way.
not even the internet connection, but the whole all lights in the street went out. It was, and then we came outside, it was pouring with rain and this, that, and the other. We're like, oh my goodness. Yeah, we literally, so to make sure that we got all our bases covered, we actually installed Starlink on top of the brand new high-speed internet that we had here, because we were like, if the internet goes out for whatever reason, like the guys have to be able to work. So
Yeah.
we forked out money to go and get Starlink. We have not really because we need it, but we have a 24-hour armed guard in the house with the guys.
No way.
Well, this is a super chill area, super
Yeah.
quiet. Poblado is great, but you never know.
Yeah.
We'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're not making money off of this. You know what I mean? This is
No way.
literally just give
This is
back, give an
giving back.
incredible experience, and then, wherever it leads us down the line. My big vision, so our big vision for the Nomadic Closer House is to have different houses all around the world that are ongoing. And
Mm.
so you can come to the Medellin house and you can stay for 3, 6, or 12 months. You can go to the
Mm.
Dubai place and stay for 3, 6, 12 months. You can go to Cape Town, you can go to Bali, you can go to Mallorca, you can go to
Yeah.
Greek islands. Like, we want to have ongoing houses all around the world, only for nomadic closers. So it'll be like
Yeah.
some form of a community, a membership that allows you access to these houses. Each house will have their own community manager that organizes the events, organizes the trainings, organizes the workshops. And dude,
That's awesome.
like
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see it.
That's awesome, man. Well, I can't wait to see it as well. And hopefully I'll come and visit one of them at least at some point. That'd be awesome.
100%.
That'd be awesome.
100%. We
So
gotta get you out here, man. Gotta get you out there.
yeah, man. But no, that's awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate your time today, man. And it's been great catching up again. It has been a while from just
Yeah.
ourselves. So, but again, just want to say from the sidelines, it is inspiring seeing what you guys are doing. And that's there's there's people that I look at and I go, I don't want to be like them. And then there's people that I look at and I go, that's really inspiring and that's like pulls me forwards. And you guys are
Mm,
at that side, you know what I mean? And I'm
mm,
sure that's the same for a lot of people. So keep doing
mm,
what you're doing, man. It's really impressive. And it's great to see, you deserving all of this success with it all. So really
mm.
appreciate you, man.
Appreciate that, Dave. Appreciate it. I appreciate the community that you're building as well, man. This, with this podcast, being able to share this message, build an audience, give the people what they need, and those that feel like they may have been failed by the traditional coaching and training services and whatnot. I know that they're very, 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 very well taken care of by yourself and under your wing, and in that sort of fold and in that community. And for you to share your audience with me, I know it's like that. I really, really appreciate that. Very, very grateful.
Appreciate it, man. Awesome. Well, again, everyone can remember Nomadic Closer House on Instagram. Check out Adam's stuff, Joel's, Harlan's, whoever's,
Yeah.
just get involved somehow, right?
Follow along. Follow along on the journey.
Awesome. I appreciate you again, Adam.
All right.
Awesome.
My pleasure, Dave. Cheers, man.